Welcome to our ninth edition podcast of Real Estate Pros in the Know. This is Kim Lambert, and I am the Association Executive of the Greater Louisville Association of Realtors. We are changing our format today by interviewing our regular host, Steve Etzel. Steve is a local real estate broker who is licensed in 9 states. He is additionally a nationwide instructor for real estate information, courses, and designations. So when we decided to talk about the importance of realtors being educated and the value that brings to those who are selling or purchasing real estate, we knew Steve was the one to discuss this with. Welcome, Steve.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We're just glad that you are here and that you do these monthly podcasts to help educate the public. We see real estate signs on every corner. How can a consumer know who is better prepared to handle their real estate needs? And what characteristics should consumers be looking for in an educationally prepared realtor?
That's a great question. A lot of times you'll see agents that have designations on the end of their name, such as GRI, ABR, SRES. Well, what these designations do is they show the public that they've gone a little bit further in their education, such as GRI would be 90 hours of extra education, which means Graduate Real Estate Institute. ABR, that's accredited buyer representation. SRES, Senior Real Estate Specialist. So they've gone a little bit further in their education and specialized training in the field that they're looking for.
Okay.
The next thing you can always do is ask your peers. One of the biggest things is to ask for referral base. So if somebody's used them prior or asked them for references if they've been serving in that area before, such as if they say they're an area specialist, they should have possible sales in that area, or they've dealt with listings in that area, and they should have good testimonials from others as well.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Is there a resource the average consumer can go to see the kinds of courses a realtor has taken? And is there a group that monitors the quality and the quantity of the education realtors get to ensure they are complying?
That's a great question. Real estate licensees, we have to go through continuing education classes every 2 years. TREC, which is called the Texas Real Estate Commission, requires us to take 18 hours after your second renewal every 2 years. Your first renewal, you have to do 90 hours, plus you also have to do legal updates 1 and 2, which equal 8 hours. So that would be 98 hours altogether. So where do I go to find this information out? You can go to the Texas Real Estate Commission website, and you can actually look up their name or their license number. Once you look up their name or their license number, it will show the broker that they're associated with. It will also show all the courses that they've taken over the term of their license. So sometimes you'll see a whole lot of different courses that they've taken. Sometimes you'll only see the bare minimums that they've taken to take their core classes. But if I was going to deal with somebody, for example, that was going to do a farm and ranch sale, well, if I look up somebody and they only have let's say, for instance, a continuing education class in a basic contract class. Well, farm and ranch is a specialized field. So what I would want to see underneath their education requirements and or education that they have would probably be a farm and ranch class to kind of prove the fact that they have the basic information to do what we're asking to do.
Okay. And that also means that these are the ones that they took that they get continuing education credits
Absolutely.
for. They could be taking other classes
Absolutely.
that might not be listed in the Texas Real Estate Commission website as well, correct?
Absolutely. So the providerships, which are the schools that we take our licenses from, or we get continuing education from, they have a list of classes. I mean, there's hundreds of different classes. That's why I'm saying the area of specialization is so important, since there's hundreds of areas of specializations in real estate. You want to make sure the one that you're dealing with has that area or that basic knowledge before you get involved in them. So there are required classes that we're required to take. There's every 2 years we have to take Legal 1, Legal 2 update, and then the other ones are basically elective classes, what we call those. And so the elective classes that they're going to choose should be the ones that you are focused on to help serve you the best.
And that also goes along with when you are interviewing them. Those are some of the questions that you can ask them as well, too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. In fact, if you're interviewing a potential licensee, I say licensee because not everybody is a realtor. So if you're interviewing a potential licensee to buy or sell a property, that might be one of the questions you'll ask them. What education do you have in this field?
Just touch real quickly on the difference between a real estate licensee and a realtor.
A real estate licensee holds a real estate license under the Texas Real Estate Commission and either has a sponsoring broker and or is a broker. A realtor is a licensee from the Texas Real Estate Commission. However, they've gone and also became a member of National Association of Realtors and TR, which we call Texas Realtors, and they also are a member of the local boards, which allow them to have their MLS access.
And they also have extra education that they take by being members of those three associations. And they also have an extra code of ethics that they go through by being that as well, correct?
Absolutely. So not only as a real estate licensee, we pledge to protect the public or promise to protect the public under the laws. However, once you become a realtor, you also have 17 articles that even further that protection to not only clients, customers, and fellow realtors as well.
Okay, excellent. Now, there are many people who read contracts in their own jobs and their careers. What makes a person who has studied real estate contracts more prepared for these transactions than a professional who is comfortable with any and all kinds of contracts?
Now, that's a really good question. I get this question an awful lot out in the field. I hear people say a contract's a contract and that's a contract. Well, just like anything else, if you specialize in something, you obviously know it better than somebody else does. And as a real estate professional, that's what we do. We read contracts every single solitary day. We take classes on contracts. In fact, our first classes, they're called core classes before we can even get a license, is promulgated forms and law of contracts. So right before we get licensed, we get at least 60 hours worth of contracts. That's how important this is to understand. Now, the interesting thing about our contracts are they are not written by the Texas Real Estate Commission. However, you can find all the contracts, the 6 contracts, sales contracts, are promulgated or published by the Texas Real Estate Commission. The public can use those. However, they do encourage a professional to help you as you're filling them out. So the broker lawyer committee actually writes these contracts, and the broker lawyer committee writes them not only for real estate licensees to use, but also for the public to use too. So they're kind of on a fine line of how they're written and so forth. However, you still need a trained professional. Give you an example. One of the biggest contracts errors that I've seen out in the field and also through teaching experiences is paragraph 1. Now you look at paragraph 1 and you say, how could that be a hard thing? It says the parties. Well, parties could be an individual, or it could be a corporation, or it could be an LLC. And I've seen a lot of times where it's they're buying as a corporation, but they put the individual name on. Well, if you put the wrong name on the contract, what you did was you sold to you didn't have the proper authority to sell or buy the property, so that contract won't go through. So that could be an avoidable situation at that point in time. Another situation I've seen is, paragraph 12. Paragraph 12 means that a seller can actually do contributions towards the sale for the buyer to get financing. Well, a lot of times when people are doing their own deals, like for sale by owners or so forth, they don't understand that when you're putting a contract deal together, you have many moving parts. And a lot of times you need to contact that lender before you even start filling out that contract. Because number one, you got to have it for the sales price and the down payment and how much they're going to finance. That's paragraph 3. And then you go over to paragraph 12 and say, hey, we might need some contributions. Who's going to pay for the title policy? That's paragraph 6. So who's going to pay for the survey? And so there's a lot of negotiations and there's a lot of things you need to go up front before you start filling those out. The worst thing in the world is to get into a contract, you get an accepted contract, you get halfway through and go, oh, I need a seller contribution, or oh, I can't afford that, or oh, we can't come up with this, or oh, there's a mistake that we made. And you got to start making repairs on it, such as amendments and so forth to the contract. And that leaves a wide opening for somebody to either cancel your contract. That leaves a wide open for misrepresentation. That leaves a wide open for a whole bunch of things that go wrong quick.
Again, just another reason why you need to have someone who is well educated in real estate contracts themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think to be able to fill out a contract, my mind is, as a professional in the field, I always like to send the contract out, or what we call it as the offer first, because it's not going to be a contract until everybody agrees to it. But I send out a copy of that offer to the buyer that I'm representing so they can actually look through it. If they have any questions, I want them to understand it before they even start filling it out.
Okay. If a consumer does have a problem with their realtor and maybe feels the realtor isn't as prepared to handle the transaction, what should the consumer do?
A lot of times after the interview process, when you're interviewing your licensee, the one that you're going to go with or what have you, sometimes you can get into a situation where you feel like they may be competent enough to handle the situation, or maybe they're probably not competent to handle the situation. But in any one case, there is a law that says that the realtor has to give you upfront what is called an IABS form. It's called an Information About Broker Services. So on that Information About Broker Services, it changed back in February of 2016. They actually changed it to now it shows who the salesperson is, who the broker is, because there was kind of a misconception of who was who at that point in time. And so a salesperson works for the broker. So a lot of times if you have a problem or you have a question of, I wonder if this person can actually handle the situation, if you look at that Information About Broker Services form, at the bottom, it's going to show who the actual supervising broker is, who the brokerage company is. You can reach out to that broker. So you can reach out to that broker and say, hey, look, I'm really interested in hiring this person. However, I'm not quite sure they're really capable of handling the transaction. Is there a mentor that might be working with them? Or is there any way that you can get involved in working with them? Or is there any way that you can hire or find another agent within your agency that can work with them? That would be probably the best route to go, if you really feel you want to go with that person, of course. And then the second part to that is if you have a problem with the transaction as you're going through, the same thing applies. Look at that IABS form. Look at who's in charge. A lot of times people go, well, I'm just going to automatically call so-and-so. Well, that's what the actual IBS form is for. So they know who to call and solve the situation. A lot of times, and I mean a lot of times, it's solved at the brokerage level. That's exactly why that IBS form was created. So you know who to call, get the situation solved, and make the transaction go right.
All right, excellent. Okay, so in kind of wrapping all this up, you've spoken about the Texas Real Estate Commission and where to go and look on that for information. You've also spoken about Texas Real Estate or TexasRealtors.com. And then also the Texas Real Estate Center. Do you have anything to say about that might be helpful for our listeners?
That's great. Texas A&M Research Center. If you go to Texas A&M Research Center, which is TAMU.edu, if you go to that website, it's the largest research center in America. So if you look on that website, you can find a whole lot of information about economics. You can also find out information on, I research things that one has to do with farm and ranch agricultural use. There's also things about property management laws. There's, you name it, you can find it when it comes to real estate. It is a great resource, and it is available to the public. The same thing it is to all of us agents as well.
Excellent. And then one other thing that we always, from the Realtor Association, are encouraging our realtors to know is about just getting in touch with legislators. We bring in local, we bring in state, and we bring in our united or federal legislators to come so that the realtors can always be on top of what's happening in real estate legislation and for those who own, the property rights. So that's another thing that you want to be asking your realtor about too, is how well versed are you on what's happening in real estate legislation?
Absolutely.
Why don't you wrap up in 3 takeaways what our listeners could take away from what you're talking about today?
I think the number one thing would be, if you're hiring a realtor licensee, get a really good referral. Get a referral from a friend or a peer, and ask for possible a portfolio. Because again, I tell this to everybody, we just don't sell houses, we sell communities. So the more educated they are, not only in the community, the better off they're going to be to serve you. All right, number 2, do research at state and local and national levels before you buy or sell your property. A lot of times it changes all the time. And right now we're moving into a different market, or it could change again. So you always want to be informed with what you're doing and exactly, if this is a good time for you to sell, this is a good time for you to buy. And a lot of the websites that we went through, TREC has some great laws that you can find. If you go to the TREC website, Texas Real Estate Commission, you can find the laws that are coming out. You can also get on their newsletter, so you can find out a lot of stuff that happened at legislation. You go to TR, they got a great section there for the public to see about legislative changes and possible economic changes, you can go to the Texas A&M Research Center, find out your economics in your area, and of course, you can always reach out to your local boards as well.
All right.
The third thing is education. All right, now education is a big deal, especially when it comes to specializing in certain areas. So make sure that the person that you're interviewing has a mentor, if you're not sure if they can handle that transaction, and make sure that they're educated in that area by checking the Texas Real Estate Commission website, and or you can also find out, of course, from other peers and other people that has dealt with them out in the field.
All right, terrific information about just how to prepare for working with a realtor and when you're selling your property or purchasing property perhaps. And we just want to thank you, Mr. Steve Etzel, for all that you do for the realtors and educating them around this area. This has been another educational resource provided by the Greater Louisville Association of Realtors.
Thank you.